Hello, welcome to Mart's Garage. I'm going to have a look at this board. Yesterday I wiped a little bit of JB weld into that crack there. So it should be set by now. It's a day later. So I'm just going to get a razor blade and scrape off the excess. I won't show me doing it, but I'll do it and just show you what it looks like after. Hello. I've kind of jumped the gun a little bit. I've just put those two liners in. I put them in. Now these two holes were just a little bit looser than you would want for a shrink fit. So I put Loctite. So put Loctite 640 on the bore, and I've just put those two liners in without shrinking them, but I have had to hammer them in. It took a bit of a push to get them in there. I hope that they've gone in okay. I've never used this before and I didn't film it because I was unsure of the method. Virtually everything I do I'm trying for the first time. But anyway, they're in there. They're sealed in with Loctite sleeve compound, and fingers crossed. Oh, and I forgot to show that there. I scraped it with a razor blade and it was just nice and flat. So that was because I was thinking that the JB weld might just keep the water that side. So this is the one that had the brazed crack. This one I just went a thou bigger than I wanted to. So I can trim these flat. This one down there, that one there, the end one, I'm thinking will be the same as these. I'm a couple of thou big on that one there. And that one there, I'm 25 thou big, but I've just picked up another liner this morning, a bigger liner, that one there. I've just picked up a bigger liner, and I've got to decide whether to bore that one out bigger, which I don't really want to do, but what I think I might do, for the sake of what it costs for the liner, I might try and skim the liner down on the lathe so it's a very close fit and just put it in with Loctite or freeze it in. I'll see how accurately I can get the diameter. Sometimes it's easier to turn to a diameter than it is to bore to a diameter. But there we are, there's two more liners in, a bit of hammering, and in they went. I hope they're okay. Okay, I'll come back when I've got more to show. Okay, this hole here is a couple of thou too big, so I've got my liner here. I haven't cleaned the hole or the liner yet, and I'm going to put that in there using the Loctite 640. I imagine it'll go so far and then I'll have to hammer it. So that's what I'm going to do. I haven't chilled that and I haven't warmed this. It's just a case of cleaning it, putting the stuff on and dropping it in. And this will be the same as I've just done for those other two that I didn't film. Just blow the dust out from inside. I'm not an expert on this. Well, I ain't an expert on anything, am I? Just going to put some around the ball like that. I mean, it's quite a tight fit anyway. It will sort of squeeze it down as it goes. Right, here's my hammer. Here's my plate. So let's get them ready. Okay. Oh, it's looser than I thought, look. So there you go, nice. So that's in. Okay, leave that now. That was about 5 thou up that hole, actually, thinking about it. The others were tighter than that, I had to hammer them in. Now this one is a massive 25 thou up on the size. I'll go and show you the other liner. This one's from a local company, Westwood Liners in Droitwich. WCL 23A. This liner is 3.50 on the OD. I don't want to take that hole out to 3.50 because I'm sure I'll go through to the water jacket. So I'm going to skim this on the lathe over the length that I need and get it down to within 1 thou of this size, and depending on if I'm up or down, I'll either freeze it and put it in, or put it in like that. That one there was a little bit easier than I would have liked, but this stuff's supposed to be able to take up a few thou, so hopefully that'll be okay. So I need to really accurately measure that one, don't I? As accurately as I can, and I need to stop messing about with that one. Let it set. So maybe that'd be a good opportunity now to measure this. Go over there, get on the lathe, and take a few thou off that. 3.45 plus 15. 3.465. And this is this is warm actually, it's been in the conservatory. 3.50. That's just less than 6.5 inches we need. You know, and that's 9 inch that is, so there's that much to come off it anyway. Okay, I'm going to go and mess about on the lathe and see how accurately I can turn this, and I'll just practice over that first part there. Okay, I'll bring you back when there's more to show. That can set now. It's ringing a little bit, but I put the liner in the lathe, I clocked it true, just bumped it true. I'm taking a very, very gentle cut, just a couple of thou, on a moderate speed with a very fine feed. And I know that gripping on the inside of the chuck will make it triangular, but I only need to come up to about here, up to about there, so I think it'll be okay. So I'm going to aim for a thou interference and go for a freeze fit on this one. It's taken a long time to go on a very fine beat. I don't want to, you know, push it away or pull it out the chuck or anything like that. Okay, I'll bring you back when there's more to show. Right, I've finished turned it. I don't know why I've got this peculiar finish, but it feels smooth. I started to turn it and I got about there and I checked it and I was about a thou under where I wanted to be, so I made an adjustment and carried on, and from there to there is exactly where I want to be, which is about a thou up on the size of the hole. So I've just measured it, and the length needs to be 6.5 inches, so I've just set this parting tool there so that it's at 6.5 inches down there. So I'm going to part it off at that, and I've put the chuck up the middle of it to catch it. So this is always a bit kind of hit and miss, but all you can do is set it going and hope for the best. Ta-da! So where you think to yourself, oh God, I hope I've measured it right. Hello. This is a little follow-up to yesterday's work. Now, the last piece of video that you will see was where I was turning the oversized liner in the lathe. Now, the memory card in the camera, when I was transferring it to the computer, crashed. I was able to recover the footage of the machining of the liner, but I wasn't able to recover the little bit of video where I fitted the liner. Me and my son fitted this liner. He helped me, so thanks for that, Jack. So unfortunately I lost that bit of film. That piece wasn't recoverable. So here's this was the last liner to go in. This was the one that I went 25 thou oversize on the bore, and I recovered the situation by buying another liner locally. Now you can see, I can see with the naked eye, but I don't know if you can see, this liner is thinner wall because it was a bigger liner and I've turned it down, and the bore is bigger than this. This is a nominal 3.25 bore, but it's approximately 40 thou down, so it's about 3.21 on the dimension there. Now what I hope is that I can clean it up at 45 thou over, and then I'll do them all to 45 thou. So this one is the key one now as to which size pistons I can use. I can't use standard or 30. I haven't got any standard or 30s. I've got some 45s and I've got some 60s. Let's see if I can clean that up at 45. So I'm sorry I've lost the footage. It's annoying when you have some decent footage and you know, you just lose it like that. So there's the last two on that side. Those two were hammered in with Loctite, because again I went a bit big on these bores. I had a bit of a nightmare sizing the bores on this. This one went in with Loctite. Again, I was oversized on this one, more than on the other one. That's been in overnight now, so I'm assuming that that's set. So I'm going to get the boring bar up and I'm going to trim that off, and then look about boring that one to see if it'll clean up at 45. So that's my next step. But for now, this is just a little round up to saying that I have recovered that by fitting an oversized liner. Got some wonderful audio from it, but no video. Okay, I will bring you back when there's more to show. Hello, look, I've been working on the old 59 Flatty. I've just got to the point where I've got 4 liners in this side. They're all in and they're all bored. And they're all bored to suit a 45 thou over piston. I've been experimenting with running the boring machine, using certain settings and cuts and trying to get the consistency. I've done quite well on this side. That bore is about a half to 1 thou over the others, but the others are all virtually, as far as I can measure, exactly the same. This liner is the one that I bored the cylinder oversize, but just looking at it you just can't tell the difference. You can't tell. It's 25 thou bigger on that diameter there, that diameter. I've honed them. You can see the honing. You might be able to see the honing. This one has a couple of little marks down the bore. Because this was the cylinder that was oversized, this was the first one I did. And I ended up with it a few thou undersize. But it was too many thou to try and hone out. So I sent the cutter down again. And I think that those couple of marks that you can see part way down is due to the fact that it was a very light cut. So it was slightly inconsistent. But the others are okay. All the scratches up there at the top are where I've been... there's quite a lot of scratches there actually. I need to give that one another go with the hone. Again, I know I'm an amateur. I don't know what I'm doing other than by finding things that don't look right and trying to fix them. Okay, that end one looks pretty good, doesn't it? Okay, so there's a little update. 4 of the 8 cylinders are linered, bored, honed. I'm not going to do the valves on this side. I'm going to flip the engine up and then concentrate on this side. Those 2 liners there have been trimmed. These 2 need trimming down and then they can all be bored. And I'm hoping by the time I do these I'll be hitting the numbers just exactly what I want. So there's my little update. Okay, thanks very much. I'll bring you back when there's more to show. But to be honest, I think, you know, I've managed to turn this one round. This one's looking good from now on. He says, optimistically, could be something else wrong yet, who knows. But you know, the problems I've had, it looks like I've managed to overcome them. That one at the back down there is the one with the crack. So let's hope that that works okay. Who knows till I try and run it. I've got a bit of money in it, the cost of the liners and stuff, but everything else will be virtually, you know, just second-hand parts. So it won't cost a fortune to get this running. And if it runs and runs well, you know, a Flathead in good running order, partially rebuilt, you know, is a valuable commodity really, especially here in the UK. Okay, like I said then, thanks a lot. I'll bring you back when there's more to see. Cheers then, bye. Hello, look, I've got my Crescent wrench. Crescent tool. Now, I was very silly and I used a very long bar on this and I broke it. Can you see that crack? I've just took this off there and I've ground it a bit, V'd it out, and I'm going to put some weld in there where I've ground it. I'm then going to file it so it goes back in there, and I might not file it all the way. I mean, I might leave it so it kind of just closes to about there, because I've got other ones I can use if I want to go, you know, to nothing. So I'm going to put some weld on there and just see if I can recover it back to a usable state. Not for going mad with, you know, but for just for general use. Okay, let's try and put a bit of weld on it. Okay, I put some weld on it. Welded quite nicely actually, I think. But it only closes up to that point there. So I want to do some filing. The problem is, other than it still being quite hot, the problem is that it's hard to kind of set up for filing because you can't quite get a straight shoot at it with the file. You can just use the end of the file and rub it kind of backwards and forwards. So I'll grind it a bit, I think, with a grinder, and then have a go at filing it. But that was about ½ inch gap there, wasn't it? So if I can get it down to about 1/4 inch, that'll be okay, I think. So let's see how I get on. I'll bring you back in a bit and show you how I've gone. Okay, I've had a good go at filing it, and it is actually quite difficult to get in to where you need to get to. But I've put it in now. Put it in there now, and it closes up almost all the way. What's not too bad about it is it's more or less parallel. Can you see that? It's more or less parallel. It isn't kind of, you know, wide-mouthed out. I can't think of the expression at the moment. It isn't kind of, you know, much wider there. So I think, you know, that's a good repair. I mean, it isn't as strong as it was, but you know, it'll continue to be useful here and there for the odd little job. Okay, I'll put it back together then, and I'll show you what it looks like when it's back together. There we go, look. With the thing unwinding it, it goes to there actually. It doesn't go quite as far. But that is fine, isn't it? You wouldn't want to do up on anything tighter than that, unless you was trying to just bend a piece of sheet metal. But I've got 3 or 4 other ones. It's just a shame that this is a proper old, you know, old-fashioned Crescent made in Jamestown, New York, made in USA, 12-inch. Another car boot sale find. Oh, that's jammed up there, I wonder why. Okay, there we go. There we go. That's not too bad, is it? I was really annoyed when I did it trying to get a shock absorber apart. Okay, just a quickie, just a little tool repair. Everybody likes to keep their tools in good condition, don't they? For now. Okay, thanks very much for joining me in the workshop then. I'll see you on the next one. Bye. Hello, I've got a bit of an idea. What I've got here are a pair of early Ford axle casings, and I've got a pair of axle stands that I don't tend to use because I've got ones, those blue ones that I prefer. And I've cut that one off too short, but I've cut this one off and that fits on there. So my idea is to weld that on there and use them as light duty but high axle stands. That's my idea anyway. So I'm going to weld those onto the top of there, and I've got another one here that I'll probably use, because this one I cut it off just a bit too short, so it's a bit marginal on the contact, so I'll scrap that and I'll sacrifice this one. This is another one that just came along, and I'll use that for the other one there. Okay, that's my idea anyway. I'll bring you back when there's a little bit more to show. There's one of them mocked in place. I brought it up on here. I've ground all the ends. I actually put this in the lathe and skimmed that, the face, so that it's, you know, runs true. So it's just a case of 3 good beads of weld now, and that'll do, I think. Hello. It's a horrible day here. It's rainy and horrible, so I've come into the garage and I'm just doing a little bit of fabrication. There's an axle stand. There's the first axle stand, and I've welded the piece on the top, and I'm quite happy with the way it looks. What I'm not happy about though is how stable it is. So what I'm going to do, hang on a minute, I've got some bits of metal somewhere. There we go. Yeah, I'm cutting some pieces of metal that are a bit thicker than that, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to weld them on there like that. 1, 2, 3. So it's got like 3 feet to stand on. That's what I'm going to do, and I've got one being cut at the moment on the saw, so I'm going to set the saw running and cut some more. Then I'm going to weld them on, and you know, it'll just kind of finish the job off. Okay, back in a bit. There we are, look, 2 axle stands. I want to find the other one of these because it's a little bit better than this one, but I don't know, I'll put it somewhere. I need to just be able to lay my hands on that. But anyway, there they are. I welded those 3 feet on down there. They're welded underneath as well. It's not, I keep saying my welds aren't pretty. They're not pretty, but you know, they are substantial, I think. Okay, I think what I might do is put these stands under the front axle and put the bigger stands under the back axle. These pair of axle stands, the yellow pair, were some that I bought very cheaply at a car boot sale, you know, next to nothing. And this one was one that was in the boot of a car that I was given, so it's cost me next to nothing. The 2 axle casings were from a scrap 32 B axle that shed all its diff. All the diff casing was damaged, and the ends actually are on the axle that's under old Rusty. What I did, I used the ends off the 32 axle and the middle of a pilot axle and made a kind of hybrid V8 32 axle, and these have been sitting in the garden for about 15 years. As you can see, they've got moss on them. Okay, so hopefully they will be useful. And another thing in the Something from Nothing series, Something from Nothing, a pair of axle stands with an early Ford heritage. Okay, thanks very much for tuning in then. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye. Hello, welcome to Mart's Garage. I have put the axle into position and fitted the torque tube that I shortened when I was working on this car some years ago. and I fitted the spring, the 32 spring that came with the car. The axle is a pilot axle, the one that's in a video that I did many years ago, early Ford axle ratio check, and it's a 3.78 ratio. The brackets are homemade to suit this curved axle, and there's a brace that bolts from there to there just to strengthen it. Now this is an original 32 rear mount, and this would normally be bolted to the back of the gearbox. The gearbox would sit here, but it's just standalone at the moment, and I've got these 3 bolts in to kind of sandwich this part together. What I noticed when I came to fit it was that this was standing off, so I slackened the U-bolts and I've tightened this up, and the effect of this is it's pushed the axle back. If you look vertically down from above, you have to make a judgment as to whether that axle would hit that cross member. I think that that axle, as it swings back, would hit the cross member, because what you have to also bear in mind is that axle is slightly downhill, so it would go backwards a little bit as it swings up. Because I want everything to be just right, I think I'm going to shorten this again, and then I will be happy. Because if you're not happy, it just plays on your mind, doesn't it? This is too long to go in my lathe, so I think I'm going to get my saw set up with a new blade and do some test cuts for squareness. Get it all trammed in nice, and then just do 2 cuts. Ow, so I've got a problem with my wrist. Then I'll just do 2 cuts. I might do them here where there's already a join. I need to redo the drive shaft anyway, because the drive shaft is set up for a 10 spline axle, which is what I originally built this car with, and now this is a 6 spline, so that's got to be redone anyway. So changing the length isn't going to matter, because I've got to redo the length of the drive shaft anyway, and I can change the length as I redo it. I thought I'd do some check measurements. Now, you see there, look, I've got the torque tube sitting on the floor with the mount on the top, kind of level. So I'm going to see if I can get a dimension. So that's on the floor. So that's about 55 1/4 to that face. So I've got the axle just supported lightly, just located by the spring. Bear in mind these are homemade brackets, right? So if I look vertically down from above, from the front spindle there, I think the front edge of that plug that I've put in there, the front edge of that plug is as good as the centre line. So let's put that on there. Well, I nearly knocked that torque tube over there. Bring it back to the axle. Right, what we got here then? I'd say that's just a fraction under 106.5. That's about 106 3/8. So the axle could go forward a little bit. So if I shove this through there, onto the flange there, and then down there, I find inches are better for this sort of thing. That's about 54 7/8. 54 7/8. So approximately 3/8 will bring that just right as it's sitting, but it's sitting with the axle getting on for 1/2 inch back from where it should be. I don't want to pull the axle forward too much because it'll be kind of stressing up the spring, but 1/4 inch should be doable easily. So I think if I take 5/8 out of this tube, it'll bring that axle forward 1/4 inch from there. 3/8 to bring it snug, another 1/4, 5/8. So I'm going to cut 5/8 or 16mm out of that tube, which is a little bit more than I thought initially, but I can pull the axle forward 1/4 inch and get it so it will sit just snug. It will sit actually off by 1/4 inch, but the clamshell's going to have to pull it forward that bit, isn't it? Okay, that's my sanity check that what I'm doing will be okay. My theory with this is that that will make a cut, and if it isn't 100% square, it doesn't really matter, because if I move it along 5/8 or just under 5/8, you know, allowing for the thickness of the blade, and take another cut, the other cut should be parallel to this cut. You see what I mean? You can imagine if they're both off by a degree, as long as they're both off by the same degree and you haven't rotated either part, when you weld them back together, they don't know, and the part should end up straight. That's my theory anyway. So this is vertical, and that pattern there, I will bring it forward without rotating it, maintain the angle. See what I'll do, I'll stop it, I'll go and get something and I'll scribe straight across there. Hang on, I'll be back in a sec. If you use a piece of angle, it naturally aligns itself to the centre line of the tube. So I'll put a scribe there now, from there to there, so when this bit's missing I can pick up that line there and align that to that. This is where you have to be confident, don't you, in your calculations. I said 5/8, didn't I? So that's just a fraction under 5/8, but it's this side of the blade. So if you go to the other side of the blade, that will be around about 5/8, and it isn't critical to thou, Cool. Hello. Right, I've been playing with this now for quite a while, trying to do some sort of alignment. So what I've decided is to do it vertical, so it's not trying to pull itself one way due to gravity. What I've done, I've beveled all the edges, but left the faintest trace of the edge. So I can use the gap as a indicator that it's aligned. I've got 2 pieces of channel on here to act as a guide, but I'm not going to treat that as the ultimate guide. And what I've done, I've put 3 washers in to act as spacers, and they're all exactly the same and all exactly the same thickness. There's my scribe line there, and what you can see is it is actually slightly out. There's a reason for that. I eyeballed this lug and it wasn't aligned with that shape there, and I kind of double checked that against this factory weld here. This factory weld is now aligned. In other words, when I did the job before, I got it slightly out. I'm not going to clamp this because I don't want to force it. I want it to sit on these washers. When I clamp it tight, it kind of pushes it off a bit. You do better doing it like down here where you've got a long straight part. But I wanted to do it there for some reason. I don't know why. Okay, I'll finalise that, and what I'll do, I'll put 3 tacks in, 1, 2, and then 1 in the middle at that side, and then I'll take the clamps off, and I'll run beads in between the tacks. Do you want to see me welding it? Shall I show you me welding it? Could do, couldn't I? Okay, I haven't tried to get rid of it completely. I just wanted to take the lumps off. So there we go. There's the job all welded up. Hopefully it'll be okay. So just to round out the job then, I suppose it would be a good idea to bolt this back on and do a couple of measurements and just see how it is. Okay, I've shortened the torque tube. I've bolted it to the axle. There, 3 bolts. I fitted the original 32 gearbox mount, and it was like I said that the bell was standing off, so I've pulled it up with this ratchet strap, pulled it onto there with a ratchet strap, and now I am quite happy about the positioning of the back axle. When you look from above like that, it looks, you know, a bit more kosher, a bit more like it's not going to cause a problem there. So we've got a Focus DIY tape measure, which is not my favourite because of the way the thing works. I'm on the same point there, reeling it back, and you can see now that that says 106. Can you see that? It's bang on, isn't it? So we'll call that good. As long as this is all square to itself when it's bolted in, I'll be perfectly happy. And when I do my alignment procedure with the shaft and the torque tube, I'll know that that is correct. Okay, so there we are. A good little job. The welding wasn't too bad. I'll give that a little wipe down and give it a little lick over with that black paint. Quite pleased with that. I've got to put that bracket on as well, that bracket that goes there. Looking a bit more business-like now, isn't it, with the back axle hanging in there? Okay, thanks very much for joining me in the garage then. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye!